Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Clutch Talk podcast slash YouTube slash We Do It All. As always, I'm your host, John. Very happy to be here. My boy Rik, we got a special guest in the building, man. We got a special guest. I'm not gonna lie, my boy Rik. I've been trying to get you on the pod for a minute, man. So I'm happy I got my guy on, man. For if you're on YouTube, you see what it is, man. It's my guy Rik Knows Hoops. My guy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. We've been trying to set this up for a minute, so it's finally good to be on the podcast, man. No, I do appreciate the invite, and I'm excited to talk some basketball with you.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. For the family out there, today is Friday, March 17th. Just want to timestamp that, man, just in case we say some crazy take and then something different happen, man. So make sure to timestamp that. And we got a jam-packed episode to get into. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it, man. We're going to kick it off with a fun little game. It's just called Guess the Player based on the teams they've been on. So I'm going to tell you the team this player got drafted by. I'll even tell you the pick that he got drafted, the next team he went to, the next team, and then you just at the end, give your guess, and the family at home, you guys can go ahead and leave something in the comment section down below. So let's go ahead and get into it, my guy. First one we got right here. This player was drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies. He was the 24th pick, and then after the Grizzlies, he went to the Houston Rockets. After the Houston Rockets,
Already got it.
Who is it?
It's Kyle Lowry.
Okay, I see you. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
The Memphis and Houston, or what? What gave it away?
It was the Memphis to Houston. Like that timeline is just If you would have said Raptors, I would have been 1,000% sure. But yeah. I mean, people forget Kyle Lowry. He was decent in Houston, man. Like he was not bad there. Like for real.
He was not bad. He definitely had his breakout years in Toronto, but Houston is what really set him up for it. That's when he really kind of got to start to get in better shape and all that, because we knew he was not in the greatest shape when he came in Memphis. But all right, I'm not gonna lie, that was impressive, because as I was putting this one together yesterday, I was like, I got to do somebody who's got a little bit of a name, but what I'm saying, not the biggest name.
Yeah.
So that's impressive, my guy. But all right, so let's go ahead and keep it pushing. Then let's get to the real first segment of the show, and that's news, updates, and injuries around the league. So with this, my guy, I just really want to get your thoughts. We know about this whole Ja Morant situation. The official report is that he's suspended 8 games without pay. I just want to, this is your first time, I guess, like us talking about this topic. So give me your thoughts. How have you been feeling throughout this whole thing? Like, who's at fault here? How you feel about this?
Yeah, I was talking on my podcast. We were kind of talking before we started recording, and we decided not to really talk about his situation in general until we figured out how many games he's going to be out. Is he going to be back this season? Definitely just an unfortunate decision that he made. Obviously what he did is just, not regulated. Like you just can't be doing that. You got to make smarter choices, as a grown man. I mean, he's 23, 24 years old. Like he's a grown man at this point. So he has to make better decisions on his own part. And, luckily, he's taking his time away from the team. I guess he went to the rehab center in Florida. So, hopefully, no situation like this arise again. I guess the fortunate thing is, he's the 8-game suspension, so he'll be back pretty soon, and he'll be back by the time the playoffs are around. But just all in all, very just a confusing situation, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. As far as the basketball side, they've, proven that they can play without Ja, over the last couple of seasons. So I'm not too worried about them sliding too deep into the standings, even though the Kings are playing really good right now. So, they might lock into that 2 seed, by the time the playoffs come around. But I guess, it's good that he's coming back, but they're dealing with some other things too, like Brandon Clark going out was kind of big during that time. The whole Dylan Brooks situation, I think he might be suspended for a game now, or he just got fined or something like that. So it's kind of a little bit of turmoil around just Memphis in general. So hopefully they can figure it out, because they're such a fun team to watch when they're at full strength.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, full strength. We know the Memphis Grizzlies could be one of those fun, just young, exciting teams, man. And I mean, you talked about a lot of their issues, and then I think another big issue that I point to, and I mean, I'm feeling this because I got him on my fantasy, and that's Steven Adams. I mean, Steven Adams is out for the rest of the season, and he was not just a defender for them, man. Like he was the enforcer for them. He was the big homie for them. Like he gave Ja Morant a lot of confidence to be able to say all that he was saying, because you got a big boy like Steven Adams there with you. So I think that that'll definitely hurt them. I agree with you. Like on court wise, the Grizzlies have proven they could do it without Ja. But yeah, I just really wanted to get your thoughts on that situation. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. You know, I'm not going to be one of those people that says like, oh, Ja Morant's from the suburbs or Ja Morant's from the hood. Like, I don't know. I don't know Ja Morant personally. And
Don't know at all.
that's not even on me. You know what I'm saying? To decipher. But what I do know is that once you get to that kind of level, that kind of money, that generational wealth, even if you are about that life, you got to drop it. You got to move on, man. So
Exactly. Like that's so well said. Like I don't care if he's I don't care what he does. Like in his off time, you're a public figure. Like you're on the court. You're an all-star, all NBA caliber player. You just gotta be smarter. That's my only gripe with the entire situation. You just have to be smarter with it. And it is just funny how people like jump to conclusions like, oh yeah, he's from the suburbs, blah blah blah. Like we don't know Ja Morant. We don't know this guy at all. We just know what we see on the court and how he portrays himself on social media. And that does not tell you, you know, everything that you need to know about a person. So, you know, that's well said. Like, we don't know him. You know, he just has to be smarter. Like, that's the ultimate thing. But I love how you brought up Steven Adams. Like, people forget, like, how big of a factor he is. And he's, like, one of their only, like, vets. Like, he's actually a veteran player, you know. At least that's what a vet is now in this league. Somebody's been in the league for, like, 10 years. Like, he's a vet now. So, you know, just what he brings to the court, you know, as far as like screen setting, offensive rebounding, his defensive impact, and then just his leadership, like that's sorely missed. So, you know, that's just a big loss for them also.
facts, man. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But you know, I'm definitely not too worried about Memphis. I think they'll stay anywhere within that top 4 seeds though. But all right, so then let's get to some other news that broke just yesterday, and that's Lonzo Ball, man. My guy Lonzo is gonna have his 3rd procedure on his knee and is expected to miss most, if not all, of 2023-2024, which is next year. Wow, that's some astonishing news. How do you feel about that, my boy?
You know, when I first saw, I think it was Shams that reported it first, and I read it. I had to reread it again because I'm like, is that saying what I thought it was? Like 2023, 2024? That's all of next season. And it was. And I'm just like, first thought that came to my mind was just like, damn, like, the way he was playing last season and the way the Bulls were playing when he was healthy, you know, they were like a top 2 seed pretty much most of the season up until Lonzo went down with his injury. Just shows like his impact, even though his numbers don't tell the full story. That's kind of the first thing that came to mind and just how that's going to affect them, you know, the decisions that they have to make in the offseason. But just as far as like, you know, I thought of like Brandon Roy. Like this is kind of how it started with Brandon Roy. You know, when he started getting injuries, it was just like, yeah, you know, it's one knee surgery here, then another here, and then it's like, okay, hey, he's about to be out the whole season. Then it's like he might be out next season too. Like that's just kind of how it started with Brandon Roy. So hopefully, if the reports are true, what they said about Zoe, like this can revive his career. I really hope that is the case because somebody that's still under 25 years old still has probably a lot of growing to do as a basketball player. It would just be unfortunate to see this really derail his career as much as it has. So hopefully, this is the last surgery that he'll need, you know, before. You know, we'll get to see him again in 2024, early or late 2024. So hopefully, you know, this is what he needs. But it's so unfortunate, man. So unfortunate.
Man, it's super unfortunate. I mean, like, especially for me, like I'm a Lakers fan, so I remember Lonzo very, very. As a matter of fact, like I'm from California. To be honest with you, my senior year, no, Lonzo's senior year, my junior year, we played them in the state championship. They blew us out. So I've been knowing Lonzo for, I've been knowing about Lonzo. I don't know him personally, but I've been knowing about Lonzo for a long time. And I've always, been a big fan of his game. So it is very unfortunate just to, see what's going on in his career up to this point. And man, I never thought about that Brandon Roy point. And that's a really good point because it's not that Brandon Roy, when he was done with his knee injuries, it's not that he wasn't a good player. It's just that teams wouldn't take the chance on him anymore because of his injury history, man. So I like that point, and I hope that that doesn't end up happening with Lonzo, man, because he's got a good future, man. He's a guard. He's a big guard. Could defend. He could push the pace. Definitely, his shot has gotten a lot better since he came into the league. So you could just see the progression, man. So I think it'd be real upsetting to never getting to see Lonzo at his fullest, man.
I mean, he's improved so much just from his rookie year with the Lakers to last season, like just as a jump shooter. Nobody really pictured him being as good as a defender as he was, but he ended up being one of the best guard defenders in the league as far as point of attack. Still one of the best passers, one of the best open court players, like that, at least the young players in the league, like as far as his facilitating goes. It sucks, man. It's unfortunate, but I can't believe you had to play against Chino Hills.
Yeah, we played against him. We got popped in the state championship.
That's tough because that team, when they had Zoe, they had a young Melo, Leangelo was there. Oh, that was a tough team. That was a tough team.
That team was tough. Look, I'm a little quick story time. At halftime, we were up 29-28. I'll never forget this. We were playing at the Sacramento Kings Arena. We were up 29-28. And we came into the locker room. I'm not gonna lie, we came in excited because this is when Lonzo was that guy, and it was all hype around him. I swear to you, we came out in second half, first play. They threw this little backdoor cut to Lonzo. Lonzo dunked it. He went off for like a 30-0 in a row, and then we got popped by like 30, man. So that just gotta give praise to him.
No shame. The fact that y'all up at halftime shows that y'all could play. Like y'all was there. It's just like great teams are going to do what great teams do, man.
Exactly, man. I mean, that team had 3 NBA players on the team, so I can't even blame that, man. But all right, man. So for Lonzo, yeah, we hope he gets better and gets out on the court, especially for the Bulls, because I think he can really help the Bulls be at their full potential, right? Like he could help set up DeMar and set up Zach, because I feel like right now the Bulls really struggle because every possession it's Zach or DeMar go create the offense, and then we'll see what comes of that. But with a player like Lonzo could really set that up. So I know Billy Donovan is hoping for that too, man.
Definitely.
But all right, my boy. So then let's go ahead and get to our next segment of the show here. That's our rank your worry segment. And the way we're gonna do this is like this. So you could rank your worry from 1 to 10. So I have a statement here, and you tell me where your worry is from the 1 to 10. 10 being I'm very concerned. 1 being I'm not really concerned. And if you want to talk into these deeper, we can go ahead and get into it. That's cool with you?
Yep, sounds good.
Let's do it. All right, man. So my first statement that I got here is, man, we've been seeing the Warriors struggle as of late, man, and especially on the road. So what I want to ask you is, do you see, well, what's your worry scale on the Warriors not finishing as a top 4 seed?
Oh, the top 4? I don't see them finishing as a top 4 seed, so I guess my worry would be like a 10. I think they have like 9 more games on the road, and they're on like a mean road losing streak right now. They're just such a different team, away from the Chase Center. I almost said Oracle, but the Chase Center. Such a different team away from there, man. And Steph's going to do what he does. Like, he came back from injury, hasn't missed a beat, probably playing his best basketball of the season, right? But everybody else just looks different on the road. Like, DiVincenzo looks different. Even Clay looks different at times. Like, Draymond looks a little different. Everybody just doesn't have that same, cohesiveness on the road. And that's just so uncharacteristic for this team. And my dad asked me the question the other day. He's like, what do you think's wrong with the Warriors? It's probably Wiggins not being there. I feel like he's such a glue guy for them. That's definitely a big missing piece. But other than that, it's pretty much the same core that they had last season, minus a couple role players. Gary Payton not playing, obviously because of injury, and then Otto Porter being gone. Other than that, pretty much the same team. And it's just so weird. So I don't see them finishing as a top 4 seed. Now, would I want to play the Warriors in the playoffs? No, because really, they can win a road game in the series. Like, that's not really a question. But the fact that they are right there with like the Rockets and the Pistons and the Spurs for road wins is very, very concerning. A couple weeks ago, I was thinking like, they'll be okay. But I'm starting to worry just a little bit more about, is this a deeper problem than just a couple guys being out of the rotation? I guess we'll just have to see. At the end of the day, they are the champs. They're the Golden State Warriors. So, they could probably turn it on, easier than anybody. But it definitely is, a point of concern.
Man, I think you said that perfectly, brother. I'm definitely right there with you. I'm a 10. I'm very concerned because I do not think they'll finish as a top 4 seed. I mean, right now they're 2.5 games behind the Suns, who are in the 4th seed. And you said it. You said it best. You said they have 9 away games and they have 5 home games left. So they have more away games than they do home games. And if they don't have that home court advantage, like how you said, they just look like a totally different team. Curry went off for a 50 ball and they lost. It was their 8th straight away loss in a row. So it's like, if Curry's going off for a 50 ball and the Warriors are still taking L's, it's like, what more do we want to see here? And I don't know if you've been seeing some of these reports on Andrew Wiggins, but some of these personal reasons says that he might not come back for the end of the year. I mean, prayers up to him. I hope he's all good and his situation. But if he's not there, and you got Stephen Curry having to go out for a 50-point game and you're still in tight games, that is a very concerning, very reason to have a concerning level. But I will say this, though. I like that point that you brought up of I don't want to see the Warriors in the playoff series. And it's kind of like when I talk about the Lakers, right? It's like I know the Lakers are struggling during the regular season, but if you got a fully healthy rosters, that's players who have championship pedigree, players who've been there, players who are vets. Like they know how to do this, and especially with the Warriors. Like they're the reigning champions, right? I know they lost some players, they're the reigning champions, so they got the experience, man. So I'm right there with you. I definitely wouldn't want to see them in the playoff series. Although I don't think they're going to get that top four, though.
Yeah, the West is so wacky. Like, they could easily, be a 5 seed, a 6 seed, and make a run. But, if Wiggins doesn't come back, like, I'm not here to speculate. I've been seeing some reports about, like, his real personal life, and I'm not buying into that. And either way, it's not really anybody's business. But if he's not back, at all this season, that's a huge loss, man, because he covers up so many just little gaps, especially defensively. Him as a point of attack defender, the rebounding he did in the postseason last year won them a lot of playoff games, like just him dominating the boards from the 3 spot. So, if he's not back, that's definitely a huge, huge loss. So hopefully he's okay. And, we'll be able to see him play at some point because they need him big time.
Okay. But let me ask about this take real quick. I got with the Warriors. I tweeted it like just yesterday, and my guy Garrett was showing some love. You know what I'm saying? He agrees, but I want to see what you think, right? So if the Warriors don't finish as a top 4 seed, I wouldn't be surprised if they got bounced in the first round.
That's not ridiculous at all. Like, nah, because they would have to win a road game and win every home game. And those top 4 teams, man, like I wouldn't want to see Phoenix in the first round, given Kevin Durant being there. I would not want to see them. Even like I'm on record like the Kings. Like I don't want to see the Kings, man. The way that they're playing, the way that nobody's really expecting them to do anything. That's a dangerous team to play in a first round series. Very dangerous. So like teams like that, I wouldn't want to see. Like I would probably rather see like Denver, to be honest. Like I'd rather see them in the first round series.
Man, the West this year is crazy, man. I can't believe that we talking about the Sacramento Kings as the 2nd seed. The Sacramento Kings. This is crazy, man. Wow. But all right, my guy. Yeah, I just wanted to, get the temperature, see how you feel about that statement. But let me go ahead and keep it pushing. Let's get to the next statement here we got here. So still go ahead and rate your worry. So Tyrese Halliburton has missed the last 2 games because of knee injury, and the Pacers are currently in the 11th seed, only 1 game behind the Wizards. So rate your worry on the Pacers not making the play-in.
I'll put it at a 5. Mainly because they weren't expected to even be this good. On my podcast, we all mutually agreed that they would be the 15th seed, and they are much better than the 15th seed this year. Like they've overachieved in a big way. So I'm not really, I think if they make it, that's fine. Like they get that little taste of postseason experience, per se with the play-in. But if they miss it, that's just a chance that maybe jumping up in the lottery, maybe getting one of those top guys. So I think they'll be fine. If the knee injury is a little, more than what maybe we're speculating, it's no issue with keeping him out, man. That's your franchise. That's your franchise guy right there. And he's had an amazing season. So I'm very just neutral. Like if they make it, that's great for them. If they miss it, I don't think there's going to be an uproar because they've really overachieved this season.
Yeah, they absolutely have overachieved. I don't remember where I had the Pacers, but definitely not as good as they've been this season. And having a player like Tyrese Halliburton leading the league in assists, and being the great player that he is. Although my worry scale is at a 4, it's about similar to yours, and it's not necessarily because I'm like, oh wow, I'm so believing in the Pacers, but it's more because I'm so not believing in the Wizards. Like I think the Wizards are just frauds. They're gonna fall down. And I mean, if the Pacers are right there in that 11th seed, 1 game away, and it just takes 1 game difference, and I think they end up getting in there.
Yeah, the play-in races like in both conferences, like they're obviously both like close right now, but it's like when you look at the West 7 through 10 or the teams that can be in that 7 through 10 range, the quality is a lot higher than in the East. Like, because the East is like, okay, the Bulls are there, the Wizards, the Pacers are overachieving, but it's like, look out West, it's like, well, the Lakers are in the play-in race. The Clippers are kind of flirting with that, range. I mean, like even OKC's theirs, like those are like really quality teams that are playing some of their best basketball at this point in the season. So it's just funny to see kind of the disparity, but they're both tight races. But I agree with you. I don't have any faith in the Wizards. Like really, their basketball play, their organizational structure. I have like zero faith in them just to make any right decisions and to even make the play-in, which probably be best for them to miss the play-in. To be honest,
man,
because they're a franchise that gets that kind of false hope, like, oh yeah, we can build something with Bradley Beal and Porzingis, and yeah, we can go forward. Yeah, that's just a franchise that just doesn't make good decisions, man. So hopefully they do miss the play-in because they could use a top draft pick that could maybe jump up.
Man, figure something out, man, because Bradley Beal's just over there getting paid but losing every game, man. So, but real quick, Rik, you talked about the play-in and kind of like how tight it makes it. Let me get your thoughts on the play-in. I know some people. I know now it's here to stay, but let me get your thoughts. Did you like it? I know you've been watching the league before the play-in too. So how you feel about it?
From a product standpoint, I like it. Mainly because it's kind of a little like a two-edged sword, honestly, because there's the side where like, okay, more teams are going to try and stay competitive because like, you can be a 10 seed and still have a chance to play postseason basketball. Then on the other side is teams are going to still try and stay competitive because you could be a 10 seed and make it. Like the Wizards, for example, like they're kind of cool with being mediocre because they have the chance to make the playoffs as like a 10 seed. Whereas like I like it for teams like OKC, like for Indiana, teams like that to where, they're kind of young, but they can get that taste of postseason basketball. It definitely makes it more interesting. Like I enjoy watching the play-in games because it kind of has that March Madness type of feel. Like where one player could really dictate this game and, a team could have a bad shooting night and all of a sudden find themselves having to play a do or die game, like kind of how the Clippers did last season. They had to play a do or die that game because, they kind of struggled in Minnesota. Like I like it from that aspect. It's just sometimes there are teams that kind of have that kind of false hope, like, Washington, Pacers for a few years kind of had that. The Blazers right now, like to where they feel like it's fine to, just be competitive, make the play-in, but they're not really doing anything outside of that. But for the most part, I really do enjoy the play-in.
Man, yeah, I personally, I like the play-in only because it just made more teams get competitive, man, and it just made it, like at the end of the day, now you have teams that are like, maybe I didn't have a chance, and now now I got a chance. So that's just something that brought excitement to me. But all right, my boy. So then I just wanted to get temperature on that one. But let me get to the last rate your worry statement here. So again, just 1 out of 10. But we just talked about the Lakers. So rate your worry on the Lakers not making the play-in.
Not making the play-in?
Not making the play-in because right now they're currently in the 9th seed, but the 11th seed is a game and a half behind them.
As a Celtics fan, my worry with them not making the play-in is like a 1. It's so crazy to say that because for most of the season up until the trade deadline, I would have not been surprised if the Lakers missed the play-in completely. I would be very surprised if they missed the play-in. Even with the reports of LeBron maybe being a little behind schedule, the way this team is playing, man, like they are getting back to their roots, being really good defensively. Anthony Davis playing some elite basketball, but even on the nights when he's not, like that Raptors game last week, he scored like 8 points. He barely took any shots because the Raptors really sold out to force other guys to beat him, but other guys did beat him. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, like Malik Beasley's had some big games. Like this team, they're kind of back to their roots of when, they made it to the finals and won the championship in the bubble to the year prior to the year after 2021, where they just had a very deep roster up until LeBron and AD missed most of the season due to injury. I really love this Lakers team, like just the product that they're putting out there. So if they miss the play-in, I would be like really surprised. Like if I was taking it to Vegas, I would bet all my money that they were going to make the play-in at least. Now the playoffs might be a different question because anything can happen in the play-in, but I like their chances, man, because they're hanging their head on the defensive end of the floor. And that's really how this Laker team, won the championship, was being elite defensively. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. Vanderbilt's been playing elite basketball too, which I'm glad to see him getting his national recognition because he's been playing good for the last couple of seasons, but it's kind of elevated playing with the Lakers, but he's been elite. D'Angelo Russell's been playing good. So I like their chances of making at least the play-in, like for sure. But I think they could be, they can sneak up to that 8 seed, maybe even the 7 seed, honestly.
Man, I'm right there with you, brother. My concern is very low. I would rank it out of 3, because I mean, let's look at it. The Lakers got 12 games left. They're currently in the 9th seed. They're one game out of the 8th seed and 2 games out of the 6th seed. This These are their upcoming games. They have Dallas. They're playing Dallas tonight with no Luka, no Kyrie. Then they have Orlando. Then they have Phoenix twice. Then they have OKC, Chicago twice, Minnesota, Houston, Utah twice, and then Clippers. In my opinion, out of all those teams I listed, besides the Suns and the Clippers, the Lakers are better than any other team on there and can beat them on. I mean, anything can happen in the NBA. Anyone can go off, but I'm just saying they can and should beat them. When you look at the roster, when you look at the way they've been playing, when you look at standings, all those teams that I listed, except the Suns and the Clippers, I feel very confident in the Lakers beating them. And I just love that you brought up Jared Vanderbilt because look, man, like right when that trade happened, that was the number one. Like I've been stated on the record, like I've said it on the pod, I said it on the videos. I said Jared Vanderbilt is going to be the biggest piece of this trade because I knew how much of an impact he had in Minnesota. When Minnesota was nice last year and they were doing the thing in the play-in, it was so huge. Jared Vanderbilt's defense was such a huge part in it. He was just one of those guys that came in and could just kind of shut anyone down. Guards really, honestly, 1 through 4. I wouldn't feel very comfortable putting him in a 5, but I feel very comfortable putting him at a 1 through 4. He's athletic. He's big. He's very smart with his steals in the passing lane. And I just think that since that trade, like how you said, since the trade deadline, this team has looked totally different. And I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers with Russell Westbrook and the pieces that didn't really fit, I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the play-in because they just weren't playing nice. But now, I mean, they got pieces that actually fit each other. Like how you mentioned, they're getting back to being a defensive-minded team. That's what won them the championship. AD, when he plays, in my opinion, he could be the most dominant big in the league. He just has to put his mind to it and be out there. Bron is Bron. I mean, I think he's the GOAT of all time, right? That's a whole different topic. My biggest concern with the Lakers, honestly, is Darvin Ham. To be honest with you, that's my biggest concern. I feel like he doesn't really sub very well. He doesn't run his lineups very well. I mean, right now the Lakers have the most different lineups ran in the entire league, and I think that's just because Darvin Ham is just trying a whole bunch of stuff, which is great as a first year coach. But I mean, we got LeBron at 38. We're not trying to experiment. We're trying to win. We're not trying to experiment. We're trying to win. So that's my biggest concern with the Lakers. But worry scale, I think they'll be able to make that play-in.
Yes. So like something crazy would have to happen for them to miss the play-in. But use the word fit, and I've been saying this like since the trade deadline passed. Like Russell Westbrook is probably a more talented player than maybe like talent-wise better than everybody that the Lakers got back in that trade.
Mm-hmm.
But in basketball, people just don't understand this. Sometimes fit is way more important than talent most times. Majority of the time. Fit over talent, majority of the time. And these guys fit. D'Angelo Russell just fits what the Lakers need. He's a comfortable guy at the third option because he's been the third option for the last couple of seasons. He's comfortable doing that. And there's nights where, if LeBron's out, he can step up, be the second guy. Some nights he can be the guy. Like that's just, his fit with this team. Vanderbilt, he can fit anywhere. He can play on any team, do what he does anywhere. And then Malik Beasley, he's a shooter. Like those guys fit way more than the talent of Russell Westbrook, which is why I was always kind of mad about the original Westbrook trade, because I'm just like, we all know he doesn't fit, but maybe talent will outweigh it. And I think that just reiterated it, that talent is not always better than just guys that fit. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's really the sole reason why this team has completely flipped it around.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, fit in the league always goes over talent, man. So that's great little clip. We'll clip that. Let put that to the world to hear, man. But
sure.
All right. So then let's go ahead and get to our last segment of the show then here, my boy. And that's the Who Is segment. So check it out. So play-in is about to start April 11th. Playoffs officially start April 15th. So we know who everyone is, right? We know who the good teams are. We know who the bad teams are. We know who disappointing teams are. So what I want to do is I want to get into this Who Is segment. So I have some statements here. And it's totally just your opinion. I'm going to ask like, who is whoop-de-whoop, and then you tell me, who you think that is, and give some reasons as to why, and we could go get into it a little bit. That's cool with you?
Okay. Yes, sir. Sounds good.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna start you off with a banger, Reek. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna start you off with a softball. All right, here we
Let's
go.
get it. Let's get it.
All right, Reek. Who is your MVP this year?
Damn. Oh man, it's been fluttering around, man. Right now, I'm gonna stick with my preseason pick, and that's Joel Embiid. Um, I just I don't know. Giannis is making a very, very compelling case. Jokic, he's still there. You know, they've been kind of bad the last couple of weeks. He hasn't been his greatest, version of himself. I'm gonna stick with Joel, man. I feel like when he's been on the court, he's been the most dominant player. And it's just like night in, night out, like teams just can't stop him. Teams can't stop him. Remember, I was watching when they played the Cavs on ESPN the other night. They were throwing three bodies at him at sometimes, and he was still getting buckets. Like he was doing his thing. He's been really good defensively, been rebounding the ball better, over the last couple months. And then he's leading the league in scoring. The 76ers are playing really good basketball. It's just kind of getting overshadowed because the Celtics and the Bucks have been so good all year. But Philly's right there. Like they have a chance, to make a run. So I'm gonna stick with Embiid. It's a very, very close race, but I'm gonna give the edge to Joel right now.
Okay. I like that. And as a matter of fact, I'm happy you picked that because look, all season and in the preseason, I said Luka, and I've been strong on Luka. But today is the day, and actually, yesterday was a day because I wrote this out yesterday. Yesterday was the day that I was like, man, you know what? Like, I can't just be prideful. I can't just stick to what I said. I got to look at the numbers. I got to look at the facts. I got to look at what it is. And when you look at what it is, Joel Embiid should be the MVP this year. So I'm officially switching my pick to Joel because I mean, when you look at it, he's putting up very similar numbers to Luka, except he's winning a lot more. Right now, the 76ers are on a 6-game winning streak. And you talked about that game against the Cavs. And I mean, that's nightly for Joel Embiid. He's out there really doing whatever, like too big for most bigs in the league to guard. So he's taking them down low. And too big for most smaller players to guard. So he's taking them down low. And the bigs that can stick with him, he's bringing them out. He's got his little jab. He's got his little turnarounds. His footwork is second to none. He's a great defender. Joel Embiid knows how to get to the line. And more than anything, I believe that this league is a league about scar tissue, right? Like the Celtics, I believe they built up scar tissue last year. Why? Because they went to the finals, got embarrassed, and now they learn how to lose. They learn like, oh, I never want to feel that ever again. And I think no matter how great Jokic has been playing, I think Joel Embiid's gotten robbed of the last 2 MVPs these last 2 years. You could make a great case for Jokic, but people were just straight up disqualifying Joel Embiid just because Jokic, didn't have Michael Porter, didn't have Jamal Murray. And I get it. And I'm respect to Jokic and all that. But Joel Embiid was putting up similar numbers those last 2 years than to Jokic. And now he's continuously doing it. I know Jokic is in the first. I know Jokic is in the first seed, and Joel right now is in that 3rd seed. But man, if I got to give it to somebody who deserves it, who's been played these past couple of years, it's got to be Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I'm glad you're showing the flexibility to change your pick. I've changed my pick like 10 times this season. Embiid was my preseason pick. Tatum had it for a little minute, then it was back to Jokic. Now I'm back with Joel, man, because like you said, he's just been dominant. He's dominant every single night. And you could definitely make a case. He had a case the last couple of seasons. I still gave him to Jokic the last couple of years, but this year is just different for me. Maybe I'm a little suffering from voter fatigue, but I don't know. I feel like this is Joel's year. And I love how when he matches up with Jokic, he takes that shit personal. Like last time they played in Philly, he went at Jokic the entire game, and he was serving Jokic. I forget how much he ended up with, but it seemed like he had 60 points the way he was serving Jokic up. So, I'm glad he's taking it personal, and it should be his award, man. I feel like there's not really enough buzz. I feel like Giannis is starting to take a little bit of it because the Bucks have been so dominant over the last month and a half. But I still think it should be Joel personally.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you. But all right. So let's go ahead and get to our next who is statement. So Rik, as we know, man, the West is tight right now. 3 games separate the 6th seed and the 11th seed. So it's clearly going to be a super tight race. So this is a two-part answer. 2-part question. First part question is who is going to finish as the 6th seed and get that last guaranteed playoff spot in the West?
let me pull up the standings real quick, man, because like you said, it's so like congested out west. Like it's kind of crazy out there. So who's gonna finish as the 6th seed or the top 6?
As the 6th seed, the last seed to get in.
The 6th seed. Okay. Whew. All right. So we obviously know Denver. They're pretty much locked in, top 2, very worst. Sacramento's up there, Memphis, Phoenix. Then it gets a little dicey. I think the way the Clippers are playing, they've kind of pushed a little cushion between them and like the 7th seed. I think they'll remain there. Then it's between Golden State, Minnesota, Lakers are there, and Dallas are there. Like those are really the main teams. OKC's still kind of there too. The Warriors have a little bit of a cushion, but like we said, they do have a lot of road games coming up. So that could be tough. But I'm probably going to stick with the Warriors as the 6th seed for now. I think the road losing streak has to end at some point, right? Like they can't go out and lose the next 9 road games to finish the season. So it has to end at some point, and they have a few home games. I think they'll do enough to stay in the top 6, mainly because Lakers are a little too far behind. Like they're, a couple, like 2 or 3 games, like that's kind of tight late on in the season. And I don't really trust Minnesota. I don't trust Dallas. OKC, they're young and fun, but I don't really trust them to make that big of a push either. So I'm going to stick with Golden State as the 6th seed.
Okay. I like that. See, I'm not going to lie. I went back and forth between 3. Well, I went back and forth between 3 teams, kept going. I'm not going to lie. I originally started with the Lakers, right? And that might be a little bit of, the purple and gold in my heart. I'm bleeding through a bit of a Lakers fan. But I will say this. I mean, just like the argument that I made above, right? I mean, the Lakers, when they put it together, the way they've been playing, it wouldn't be surprising to see them just simply go on a 2-game winning streak because they're only 2 games out of that 6th seed. But it's not just the Lakers win; it has to be the Lakers win, and the other teams have to lose, and so it's not necessarily just like that. I'm going to eliminate the Lakers. So I originally started with the Lakers. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to eliminate the Lakers. You said it best. I do not believe in Minnesota. I think Minnesota ruined their team by trading for Rudy Gobert. Like, I don't know what they were doing. And then now Karl-Anthony Towns is getting ready to come back soon. We already know how much of a mess that was when Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert was out there. No room for Anthony Edwards to operate, get to the hoop. So I don't trust in the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Warriors got too many road games. I think they're going to drop. And I think ultimately what's going to happen is Luka and Kyrie are going to step up, man. I mean, Kyrie's going to be like, damn, I mean, I didn't come here to play in the damn play-in. Luka's not trying to, he didn't complain all this time and ask for a star to just be in the play-in, be in the same exact position that he was in by himself. He could have got to the play-in by himself. We just seen him do that these past couple of years. Not by himself. Jalen Brunson was on that team, but now when you add a player like Kyrie Irving, you're expected to be at least a top 6 seed. And I mean, they're only 1 game away. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Dallas Mavericks for that. That'll be nice to see them. They can finish the top 6 seed.
Okay. I like it.
Okay. All right. Here's the second part to the question, because, the West is so packed. So who's going to finish as the 11th seed and just barely miss the play-in?
That's tough.
That's tough.
That's very tough, man. I could almost see the play-in being like almost how it is right now, with maybe Minnesota dropping a spot or 2 and the Lakers maybe moving up. A couple weeks ago, I thought Portland was on track because of the way Dame was playing, but they pretty much eliminated themselves now, and they got a game tonight against Boston, which could put the icing on the cake, right? I think New Orleans is going to be the team on the outside looking in. It's so tough, man. We don't know if Zion's even going to be back this season. It's looking like probably not. Such a different team without him, even though they got BI and CJ. They just miss him a lot and what he brings to the table, man. So it's very unfortunate because they're a team that when they were, at least when Zion was healthy, they were like a 1 seed for a period of time. But now it's like they might be on the outside looking in, which is so unfortunate. Team that's been decimated by injuries most of the season. So I would probably pick them to be the team on the outside for right now.
Ooh, that's crazy, brother, because I wanted to go yesterday with the Pelicans, but then again, I got to think to it. Like, I think BI, CJ, those are just players who know how to get it done, man. And I don't think they're gonna let it go out like that. And I think the Utah Jazz, man, they traded away, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert with the intentions of blowing it up. it just so happened to work, right? At first, it was working. People were like, "Oh my god, like Utah's good," and all this and that. I know they were on a little run, but at the end of the day, I think the front office and organization, what they're trying to do is they're trying to go for Victor. They're trying to go for Victor Wembanyama, or they're just trying to tank as bad as possible so that they could at least have a chance to get a higher pick. Maybe not Victor because that might be for this is Spurs or Rockets and stuff like that. But I think that it just wouldn't make sense for them to even try to make this, in my opinion. The Pelicans on otherwise, like, I mean, yeah, you'll take a top pick, but the Pelicans, they got a good team. They just need to be healthy, man. So I think the Jazz ultimately, and I think that might be on some like they don't even want to make it for like themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's how it'll play out in the Jazz. Might be that team looking in.
Yeah, it's so tough, man. I like the way OKC's playing. I think that they can hang on to at least the 10 seed, maybe move up. Who knows? But they're playing some of their best basketball at the right time of the season. J Dub's been hooping. Shea's been all NBA caliber all season long. Giddey's taking a step forward. That's one of the teams. Like, if you're looking for a team to watch on League Pass, that should be the team to watch. Like, every time they're playing basketball, you should be tuning in because they're such a fun team. And they're playing some of their purest basketball right now at the most important time of the year.
Man, and to think that they don't even got their number 2 pick, right? It was Czech, right?
Yep.
That's crazy. Sir. They don't even got because I've been saying it. When he got drafted, I was like, man, a SGA and Czech pick and roll is gonna be scary, man. SGA get into the hoop, hit that low, and then he gonna just hit the mid ranger. It's gonna be solid, man.
Yeah, next season that's gonna be like they might be ready to take a nice jump next season, like a really good, like maybe not a Kings type jump, but to like the position where we might be a top 6 seed solidified. Just because all the talent they're gonna have coming back, Chet getting his NBA feet wet, like and probably some more young guys that aren't even able to really crack the rotation right now, getting better, like Ousmane Dieng, playing more basketball for them. They're gonna be a fun team to watch, man, for sure. I mean, they're already fun, but I think they're gonna be a really good team next season.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. We've seen the full cycle of Oklahoma, right? Remember when we've seen Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, very young, right? We're like, oh wow, look at this young rising team. They moved on, and now we're gonna see a whole new cycle, man. So it's crazy, man. But all right, let's go ahead and get to our next who is statement here, and that is, who is the most disappointing team in the league so far?
Most disappointing. That is a great question. Most disappointing. I should have an easy answer for this.
Need time to think about it, my boy?
Nah. I'm gonna go with the Clippers. Personally, I feel like the Clippers are the most disappointing team. I was kind of arguing with my dad the other day because he's a big Kawhi Leonard fan. So, he kind of roots for the Clippers, kind of, right? This is a team that was built with the intention of being a championship team, right? They haven't really achieved much. And you could say, well, Kawhi, got hurt in the playoffs and he missed all last season. Okay, I'll give you that. Coming back this season, you would expect them to, in the West that's been kind of wide open, I would have expected them to be the team to, at least look like that they could be the team that in the playoffs, this is the team to beat, right? Even if they're not the 1 seed, because we know Kawhi wasn't going to play, a lot, a ton of games. Paul George misses time here and there too. But they haven't been that. And, they're one of the teams, like, we were just having a discussion, like, they could be in the play-in. Like, if they go on like a 3-game losing streak, they can find themselves in the play-in. They don't have the comfort of being one of those top 4 teams right now. So they've been very disappointing for me, man, because, they got built, the same summer the Lakers got AD. Like, that was the intention of, we're going to be the LA team to win the championship. And they made 1 conference finals in that time. Yeah, Kawhi got hurt, but it's been a very disappointing time. And if they don't win it this season, which I don't see them winning it this season, it's going to raise a lot of questions going into the offseason. I feel like people should be talking about it more. Like, they should be a team that should feel like they have a lot of pressure on them. So they're probably been the most disappointing team for me.
I really like that pick, and as a matter of fact, that's like it's in a way, like when you look at their roster, you would expect, right, like top 3 seed, and top of the West and competing for a title, and for the fact that they're not, I like that. And like you said, I don't think a lot of people are talking about that, not even really me myself, because I have a different team. I have the Chicago Bulls, man. I mean, I just think they have such a good roster, man. I mean, I know we talked about Lonzo being hurt, but I just feel like they have such a good roster in DeMar DeRozan, your go-to guy. Zach could be your go-to guy. I know Andre Drummond hasn't ever been what he used to be, but Nikola Vucevic he can be a great player. He just needs to work on his defensive end. Patrick Williams has so much potential. I just need him see him doing more consistently. Kobe White, great knockdown shooter, great role player. Derek Jones Jr. could be another great role player. Alex Caruso, a great player off the bench. I mean, Lonzo's a big key piece to this and getting a true big. But I've always said that like this Chicago Bulls team, this might be a crazy take, but this Chicago Bulls team is like a solid, real big to where they can go against the Bucks. Because every time they go against the Bucks, they get outmanned. The Bucks are some trees. They just show the Bulls that they're just too small. So if the Bulls can get a true big to help them, on the defensive end, I think that they really could be some contenders, man. I blame Billy Donovan for a lot of he's a really bad coach, not gonna lie. Doesn't really do rotations very well, but as far as roster wise, man, I think that this team should be doing much, much better than the 12 seed that they're in.
Yeah, they could definitely be better. I think I had them as like the 9th seed coming into the season. I just, with the uncertainty of Lonzo Ball, I kind of didn't know what to expect. But I think they've even, looked a little worse than, even my expectations. So that's definitely a good pick. I mean, they showed last season when they were fully healthy, they were, a 1 seed for a decent stretch of, the first half of the season, which feels like a very long time ago. But yeah, they ran into a lot of different things, like Vooch kind of regressing as soon as they traded for him. Lonzo's injury, Billy Donovan, just a lot of decisions kind of catching up to them. And then it doesn't look good that the guys that they traded for Vooch are looking like very good young players like Wendell and Franz Wagner, and, potentially another first round pick this year. So that's a team, they got some decisions to make this offseason for sure.
Man, shout out our guy Garrett, man. Shout out our guy Garrett, man.
He's going through it, man. I did think of a couple other things though. You mentioned you didn't really think Minnesota was going to do much after they made the Rudy trade. I was in the camp of, I thought, well, this is like almost word for word what I said. I said it's either going to be really good to where they're one of the best teams in the league, or it's going to be like where they are now, and it's where they are now. But I kind of had higher expectations for them. So they kind of disappointed me a little bit, and then the injuries to Cat, so we can really see them figure it out during the season. It's kind of tough. And the Atlanta Hawks, a team that's basically in the same position they've been in, the last couple of seasons, fighting to get out of the play-in or get into the play-in, the last few weeks of the season. So just another team that I can't really figure out. Hopefully the Quinn Snyder move will be one that works out for them, going into next season in the long term. But for this season, I'm just like kind of disappointed in them, man, because they have a good roster. Like their roster's not good. They shouldn't be as bad as they are defensively, just with the names that they have on their roster. But, just a team that's kind of hard to figure out.
So you felt kind of good about that Timberwolves trade with Rudy Gobert. So talk to me about, like, even if Cat did play, do you see them being able to figure out something? Because, well, my biggest concern was like, how are you going to put Cat and Rudy in? Like, when I was watching them early in the season, and granted it's early in the season, they didn't get time to gel. There'd be so many possessions where I'd see Cat and Rudy both run to the low block, and then now you got a paint full of 4 players, where you got Cat, Rudy, and then both their defenders on there. And Anthony Edwards, what does he do best? He gets to the hoop, and I think he's going to be the star of that team. So I never believed in this. So talk to me about that. Like, what did you see? Like, what did you make you think like, yeah, this is going to work right here?
I guess like intangibles wise, obviously we know Cat has one of the best shooting bigs ever, if not the best, 7-foot shooting big, right? And, Vanderbilt being there last season, I felt like was obviously not the dynamic of Rudy, but obviously Vanderbilt isn't stretch the floor either. He's more of like a dunker spot kind of guy too. So I thought they would be able to adjust in that manner. Defensively, there was always concern because you're going to have Cat basically guarding, hybrid, power forwards, guys that are basically wing players, which was definitely a concern. But I thought with Rudy's brilliance defensively, they would figure it out. He's regressed a little bit defensively this season. So I think that is where kind of the learning curve kind of happened. I think they would have been able to figure out in a way, at least maybe offensively. But we didn't get to see that because Cat's been out since like November. Like, he's been out such a long time. Like I kind of almost forget he's on his team. Like just the amount of basketball we've seen him play this season, which is not a lot. So it's definitely unfortunate. Can they figure it out? This season, probably not, even though there's the reports of him, gearing up to come back. Definitely not this season because that's just such a short amount of time. In the future, it depends. this like will bring up a whole nother discussion. But my dad raised the question to me when we were talking the other day about like, he basically said like they'd be better off trading Cat, and I'm like, that's not really a crazy thing to say. It's just about what you would get back for Karl-Anthony Towns. That's the question. So, I kind of bought into it just a little too much, maybe just because I thought Rudy's defense, which we seem to be kind of generational over the last few seasons, at least in the regular season. I thought that would be enough to make up for all the question marks. But like we talked about earlier, man, sometimes fit is better than talent. And maybe that's another, example of fit being more important than just talent.
Facts, man. Hey, your pop's got some good takes, man. I've said that before, man. I've said maybe the Timberwolves, either Cat or Rudy, because it's just not going to, in my opinion, it's just not going to work. So you got to go one way, and you just traded away all these pieces for Rudy. So might as well trade Cat and, make it worth it. So, yeah, your pop's got some good takes.
It would not be crazy, man. And I follow a lot of Timberwolves fans on Twitter, and I feel like they all hate Cat. So I don't think the fan base will really be too opposed to it as long as you don't get completely fleeced, as long as you get back some guys that, will fit in, get some Jared Vanderbilt type of guys. I don't know, like get some guys that fit, man. Like, I don't know, like that might be their best course of action, like going into the off season. It's just like when you look around the league, it's like who would want Karl-Anthony Towns right now, and also be able to give the Timberwolves pieces that, would, entice them enough to get rid of Cat. I don't know if that trade exists, on the surface level right now. We might have to see maybe a team is willing to, blow it up in the off season or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of weird. The market for a big might not be as high demand, especially after we just seen the Rudy trade, how much they had to give up for that. Teams are not going to give that much for Cat. So it's going to be interesting if they even, endeavor in that, kind of trade talks for Cat in the off season.
Yeah, man. It's always interesting when, you talk about trading like superstars. It's kind of like when the whole Kevin Durant trading situation was going on. It's like, yeah, you want to trade Kevin Durant, but it's like, what trade are you realistically doing that you're giving away Kevin Durant and you're winning? Like what? So it's saying, same thing with Karl-Anthony Towns. Unless you're just getting a gang of players, man. But all right. So then, Rik, my guy, look, let's get to the last question of the segment of the show. This is the big one right here. Okay, this is why I saved it for the last one. I started you out with a banger, and we're gonna finish it on with a banger. All right, you ready for this?
Okay. Yes, sir. I'm ready.
All right, Rik, who is your championship favorite this year?
My favorite. Am I biased if I say the Celtics?
No, not at all.
I've been kind of saying that all year. It's tough though. It's I almost want to say it's like almost a toss up between them and the Bucks, man, because they both look so dominant, for big stretches of the season. But it kind of hurts. I'm gonna say Milwaukee. I'm gonna say the Bucks. Because I think home court is going to be very important, like it was last season, and it's looking like the Bucks are going to lock up that one seed sooner than later. Giannis in the playoffs, he takes it to another level, which is even crazy to say because he's already so damn good. And just, their guys are starting to round out into form. They're getting healthy at the right time. Chris Middleton is starting to look more like himself. Drew Holiday's been playing good. Brook Lopez has been playing at a deep boy, level all season long. Bobby Portis is back. I think they're really built for a championship run this season, as long as they can stay healthy. And if they get home court, I think that'll make up the difference, because I think last season, the biggest difference other than Chris Middleton being out was the fact that they had to go to Boston for Game 7. And they just seemed like it was just too much. Giannis seemed gassed. Their shooters weren't hitting shots in Boston all series long. I think it'll be different if they get that home court advantage and these teams potentially match up. And I think they match up just well with anybody else in the East. Like, I don't really worry about them against Philly too much. Cleveland, we've seen what Joel can do to them. I'm not, Cleveland, we've seen what Joel can do to them. Like, Giannis can do similar things. Like, I'm not really too worried about any other team. But those are probably the two favorites for me, is them and Boston. But I would lean towards Milwaukee because they're probably going to have home court throughout, and I think that would make a big difference.
Man, I mean, that's a great debate that you bring up, and a great point. As you said that, I went over here to the NBA website, and I'm like, all right, let me see the Celtics away record. Celtics and Bucks got the same away record. They both 22-13, so they're both, solid, and they have similar home records. Bucks are 28-7 at home, and the Celtics are 26-9. And you brought up great points, Rik. But the thing is, I believe in scar tissue, man. I believe in the Celtics. I think the Celtics got to the high, and And you could even bring up the point of scar tissue with the Bucks too, right? Because they lost to the Celtics before even getting there. But I think that the way the Celtics went out, man, I think that like, and Rik, I know you're a Celtics fan, but and I'm sorry for it, but it just was like a choke job. Like they just choked, and not only the team as a whole choked. I think Jason Tatum choked, and the thing is that great players like that, right? Jason Tatum always talks about Kobe, right? And what did Kobe do when he lost that '08 championship? He talks about how that fueled him. He's like, that was the worst loss of my life. Like, and he talked about when he won in 2010, he's talking about how it was his greatest win, and then he built the scar tissue and all that. And I mean, that's realistically what I think is going to happen with the Celtics, man. I think they still got a sour taste in their mouth after what happened. The whole Ime Udoka situation, people doubted them even more, and then they rose above to what me and anyone else thought. Right when the Ime Udoka situation came out, I was like, oh man, it's over for the Celtics. But no, they're still right there, if not better. They have, and I've been saying this, I've been catching a lot of heat for this, but they basically have 2 MVP candidates on their team. Because if you consider Jason Tatum an MVP candidate, I mean, I'm not saying Jaylen Brown is going to win or realistically, but if you look at his numbers, he's not far off from Jason Tatum. So if you're considering Jason Tatum as an MVP candidate, Jaylen Brown should definitely get at least some recognition. There's a lot of games where Jaylen Brown takes off as the number 1 scorer on that team. And at the end of the day, you know, you talked about the home court advantage, and you also talked about Chris Middleton. I just don't think Chris Middleton's the same, right? When the Bucks won a championship, Chris Middleton was the closer of that team. Giannis played and dominated like quarters, really 1 through 4. But when the game got smaller, when the players started playing Giannis differently late in the game, when they kind of started making him shoot a little more, the ball got rotated to who? Somebody who can shoot, somebody who can put the ball on the ground. And I'm not saying Giannis can't shoot, but he can't shoot at the same level as Chris Middleton, man. So Chris Middleton not being the same, I think it plays a big part. Jason Tatum, he feels that, man. He feels that. And Rik, I got the Celtics, man.
You know, I don't hate it at all. Like I said, they're kind of a toss-up for me. I think we'll see how Chris Middleton responds, because he basically hasn't played playoff basketball like in 2 years, because he played like a game last year before he got hurt. So definitely, you know, he kind of has to remind people if he can still perform at that level. But, you know, I like what you said, man. I think you might be catching heat because people hear MVP and they're like, Jaylen Brown MVP. They got 2 superstars on their team, which is like not what a lot of teams can say. And, you know, there were times like where Jaylen Brown in the playoffs last year looked like, you know, the guy, like he looked like the best player on the team. And then there were times where Tatum did too. But I like what you said, man. It's like they kind of got a answer for last season, especially Jason Tatum. You know, he kind of has to rebound and show like, okay, yeah, I played bad in the finals, but I learned from it and I got better from it. So we'll see. They have been through a lot of adversity just because, you know, you lost in the finals, like you mentioned, the Ime situation, and they are a better team now. Like they're deeper. The numbers support they're a better team. I think they're the only team that's top 5 in offense and defense, which historically teams that are top 5 in both have a pretty good track record of winning the championship. So it's possible, man. And I kind of like how they're cooling off a little bit right now, because they played so good like the first, you know, 2.5 months of the season. And they're starting to cool off a little bit. And I kind of like that, because it's kind of taking the attention away from them. Everybody's talking about the Bucks. Obviously, Phoenix got Kevin Durant. So it's kind of taking the attention away from them, which I think is good, because they just need to, you know, focus, lock in, and, you know, once the playoffs come around, show people why they were in the finals last season and why they had a 2-1 lead with a real chance to go 3-1 against the eventual champs.
Man, I'm right there with you, man. I think the Celtics going to do it this year. And it's tough to say because I'm a Lakers fan. So I mean, that means we're gonna be right there, man, with the rings.
That's how I know it's real, man, because we both got 17 right now. We almost got 18 last season. So that's how I know, like, your opinion is real, because, you know, I wouldn't want to say that about the Lakers. Like, it kind of hurts. It hurt earlier to give y'all credit. I'm like, I'm not really too worried about them missing the play-in. Like, that kind of hurt a little bit. That's why I hesitated. But, you know, you just got to keep it real sometimes, man.
You crack me up, brother. Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. For the family out there, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, man. And for the family out there, man, make sure you guys go follow my dog, man. Make sure you go follow my dog, Rik Knows Hoops. He's got a YouTube, social media. Everything will be in the description down below, man. So go ahead and just get at him, man. You know, hit the subscribe button. You know, join the family. My guy definitely knows hoops. But Rik, do you have any last words to say before we get up out of here?
Nah, man, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad we finally got this done. Great talk as always, and I'll be down to be a guest any other time, man. This is a great conversation, bro.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you. For the family at home, man, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Come follow us on our socials. It's at Clutch Talk Pod on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Just get at us, man. And that's it, man. Stay tuned, and we out of here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.